Friday, the final day of the week. These are the voyages of the program Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new movies, to seek out new bits and new edifications, to boldly go where no radio program has gone before. Oh, Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club. Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club.
Yes, it is. It is time to welcome in our good friend, Kent Wolgamon of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Good afternoon, Kent.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Good. Oh, not bad. It's actually a gorgeous day outside for the first time in forever. It's like our winter has ended. Hopefully this is the end. Josh, would you like to say the snow is done?
No, it'll be back at some point. It'll be back at some point.
All right, well, we tried.
Uh-huh.
Well, this is one we've been looking forward to because, first off, we don't get a chance to do a lot of new movies unless they're like Netflix originals or something like that. But, you know, this is the first, I guess I can call it a major release when you look at all of the advertising that's been done, even though it's strictly on Amazon Prime. But you can't watch a lot of sports without seeing advertising for this movie. And so for it to come out in this format has made it easy for a lot of people to see it right away. And it is Borat subsequent movie film, a.k.a. Borat 2. And we were just talking going into the break, Kent, that how convenient that this comes out a couple of weeks before the election.
You think maybe that was why it was released a couple of weeks before the election?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it really capitalizes on the moment that we're living in, because in a few days, I mean, it's not like it would be outdated, but it definitely would not have the punch that it does at this point in time.
Yeah, it'll lose some of its sting no matter what happens after Tuesday.
Yeah, and along those lines, real fast, Kent, I think the thing that bums me out the most, like, you know, the commercials I don't think really give away a whole lot, but I'm so bummed, and spoiler alert if you somehow missed this, that the Rudy Giuliani stuff went public, you know, a couple days before the release, because all movie I'm watching it, like waiting for that part of the movie to arrive, and I wish that it would have just caught me entirely by surprise, and that was a bummer of like the news cycle surrounding it.
I agree with that. It would have been much more, whoa, if you hadn't known it was there. But on the other hand, it was still kind of creepy.
Well, and I wonder if that, you know, obviously that's the punchline of the film.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's at the end of the movie. It's kind of the end of the quest that the plot is around. And so by revealing that, it probably, even though for those of us who were already going to watch it, might have felt a little bit like we've spoiled a key moment. I think it also probably brought a lot more people in to go,
yes,
oh, I have to see this now. And I think there was enough that was going on around it that even though we had all seen the stories on Giuliani's appearance in this, it probably, if anything, made me want to see it more, to see what in what context it was going to look, if it was going to look as bad as it sounded.
That's true. And remember that the first leaking of this didn't come from the film people. It was, you know, Giuliani admitted to it, doing damage control, right? Mm-hmm. And at first he said, oh, yeah, I just got punked and it was fun and all of that. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out what it is. And then it's like, whoa, it's all a lie, you know? But so it wasn't the film people that wanted to get that out. It was Giuliani, and I think that was a mistake on his part as well.
Now there is, I will say this, if you still want to be surprised, there is a surprise cameo at the very end that I won't spoil. That is kind of funny considering the context. And we should mention this was all shot within the last year or so. And yes, you know, you've probably seen some of the commercials. There are references to the virus.
Yeah.
So this is happening. At least some of this was shot during the coronavirus. And I guess that's kind of where I want to start, because obviously the appeal of a film like this is like candid camera on steroids, right? If those of you way back remember the old TV show Candid Camera, or I guess the kids these days would remember Punked, where it's just this idea of trying to prank people on camera. And the part of the movie that as I'm watching this, I'm trying to think to myself, how much of this is staged? How much of this is actually he has fooled these people into playing along with this character as if he is real? And I guess the one part of this that was a little, I'm not sure if that's legit. About 2/3 of the way through the film, he and his daughter, his on-screen daughter, break up and go their separate ways. And Borat takes up with these two guys. I don't even know where they're located, but somewhere.
Was all in Texas, pretty much.
Yeah, somewhere in Texas.
Oklahoma.
Are we to believe that these two guys took this dude in for several days and housed him and then went with him to this, you know, this gathering of, you know, right-wing extremists, for lack of a better term? I guess that was the only part that I thought, I'm not sure if some of this isn't being staged for the benefit of humor.
My guess on that is that he didn't go and stay there with them, but they agreed to do this, right? And it wasn't like overtly staged, but that part was whatever you want to say,
embellished a bit. Yeah,
embellished. There you go. To make it, but because those two guys have subsequently talked about how, you know, he fooled them, basically. I am just baffled, and I was for the first movie. How do they convince people, A, to do this, and B, how do the people not figure out that they're getting punked in the worst kind of way? And C, what rock would you have to have lived under to not have heard of Borat?
Yeah, and you know, Kent, like along those lines, I heard one like a show talking about it this week. Like those guys are obviously very online because they're talking about QAnon and people drinking, you know, blood and all these things. So it's like, okay, you're online enough to know about like these conspiracy theories, but you're not online enough to know about Borat. That part really, really surprised me that they were completely oblivious to him, but they obviously have an understanding of other things.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I read a couple things because for that very purpose, and the where he takes the daughter to the debutante's ball, that was a real deal. And they interviewed all the people that were there gonna go. And if they knew about Borat and Sacha Baron Cohen, they, you know, paid him not to go, essentially, I think.
Wow.
Or set up enough. And so all these people that were in there didn't know who he was, didn't know. And it's like, how can you not know who Borat is?
Well, no, they did. He did. And this was kind of an ingenious thing, because you do see it again in some of the commercials where he's walking down the street and people are yelling his name and running after him. And so he spends a lot of this movie as Borat disguised as something else.
Yeah, Borat in disguise. So
playing a guy in a disguise as to disguise who he is. And so when he's at this debutante's ball, he's actually not he's not looking like Borat, but he's dressed as, you know, some stuffy.
And he still uses the
person.
same voice.
The voice is
right. Like, as soon as you hear that, and that's where I'm with you guys at, it's like, as soon as I heard that voice, even if you've never seen the movie, heard of Sacha Baron Cohen, even heard the name Borat, there are enough idiots in this world who still say my wife, me
like
included,
us. Yeah, I was gonna say us
all the time, where you would like think that someone would be able to put two and two together at some, or be like, I recognize that somehow. But there's a lot of dumb people in this world, so maybe not.
Yeah, that's howling. I was howling as they were dancing, and as she started pulling up her dress. That part it just destroyed me, because they're all into it, and then slowly you could see like, oh my gosh,
huge gasp. Yeah.
And apparently they were truly appalled.
Oh yeah,
like ran from the room.
You don't say.
Yeah, it was. that certainly is one of the more outside of the Giuliani stuff, which is more political in nature. But that was definitely the most,
that and the scene where they're at the doctor's office, or not. I mean, I don't. Is that a doctor's office? And they're talking about an abortion for her. That scene, because the thing that blows my mind with Sacha Baron Cohen, with all, I've watched Borat, the first one, 1,000,000 times, that he just remains in character and he never breaks, because every single line of dialogue there is absolutely perfect to just horrify this other person, but it fits with what we know about the cupcake, 5 minutes prior. He is a genius at that type of stuff. And it's incredible.
He's amazing. What I took away overall was like that, more so than even like the big pranks that he did. And it's those little moments that he was in, and how witty and quick Sacha Baron Cohen is when he's sitting interviewing these people, more so than just doing the big prank, that he's able to come up with these questions after getting a response that he doesn't know what that response is going to be. It's full on off the cuff, right off the top of his head. And I think I laughed more at some of the tiny little comments or questions that he would ask that just popped into his head than I did at any of the big, like kind of on big scaled, like actual
set
pranks
pieces
that happened. Yeah.
The other thing that impressed me about this, unlike the first one, this one really had a storyline,
Yeah.
And the first one was just, a bunch of skits kind of semi tied together. This one had a real story arc that, from where it started to where it ended it made it a more coherent movie, I guess you could say. And it made it even more impressive to me that he could work all this essentially improvised stuff and keep that storyline all together. I mean, it's a pretty amazing. And the director, you got to give that guy whose name has escaped me some credit as well. And also the woman who plays his daughter,
he was great.
Maria Bakalova, I believe is her name. That is her feature debut in English. She's never done a movie before, and she was great. She was very good as he was. She never broke character. Can you imagine having to sit across from Giuliani and try to fake that?
Exactly.
I looked up the director because I remember thinking, I didn't remember his name either. His name's Jason Woliner, but I recognized it when I first saw who it was, and it's mainly because he did a lot of Nathan For You episodes, which if you've ever seen that or heard of that show, it's an old Comedy Central show. It's a lot like this. It's man on the street pranks where a guy's in character. So he's got a lot of kind of practice and experience in this type of filming.
Interesting.
Yeah, to go back to the point about the story arc, if you remember the first one, I mean, the loose story arc was this pursuit of Pamela Anderson.
That's right. That was the story, yeah.
But this one was a lot more, it was a lot more intricate to exactly what's going on. And essentially the story is that, Borat has been exiled, or he's been punished because he's in
the gulag.
He embarrassed
he's been in
Kazakhstan.
The gulag, and he's freed because the leader of Kazakhstan wants to be seen as a tyrannical leader, and he wants approval from Trump. So he uses Borat as a delivery vehicle to deliver a gift to the president so that he can gain favor with him as a
president to Mike Pence.
Mike Pence,
right.
Yes,
to get into good spirits with the president. That was his
to Mike Pence.
Yes,
and so there is a scene where he dressed as Donald Trump, Borat dressed as Donald Trump, breaks into the CPAC and is carrying his daughter over his shoulder, and people are gasping and they're wondering what the heck's going on.
By the way, when he showed up to that thing in the robe, you want to talk about howling again? Yeah, I lost my mind at that. How do I blend in?
Just ridiculous.
And again, we don't want to give away too much of it, for the sight gags. But it was different from the first movie in that sense. Obviously, the big thing is the Giuliani stuff.
Yeah,
and at least from my opinion, it plays out every bit as bad as it sounds if you've read any of the news.
Maybe worse. It was even creepier than I thought it would be.
I kept thinking as I'm watching this, because I'd seen that clip online a few times, and then I watched the movie. It's like, what happens if this goes, like 30 seconds longer? That's the thing that I keep wondering, is like, what would have happened if Borat's character wouldn't have ran in there, because she was just going right along with it. And it's like, oh my gosh, it is more awkward than it even comes across in all like the print news stories.
And don't you assume I did that he went, holy, I better get in there now.
Mm-hmm. I did like too how you were talking, Ken, about the actual storyline and how there was a full-on plot to this movie without giving anything away. The little twist at the end that I thought was like,
yes,
kind of cute, because like they're leaning into the gag of like, let's actually make this like a funny, ridiculous thing, where it could have ended well before that, and it didn't go too long after. It didn't make it stupid, but I thought it was just the right amount of like, oh, that's funny, good idea, that's ridiculous.
And the interesting thing, because we've talked all about this improvisational part of it, for lack of a better way to put it, that first section and the final section were scripted. They had to be.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So up until he gets to this country, that's all scripted. And when he goes back, it's all scripted. And everything that happens here is done Borat style, and there are if you looked at the credits, there's only one person credited outside of Sacha Baron Cohen and Maria Baklava in this country, and then there's credits for the people in Kazakhstan.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's not as many actors.
Everybody else in there was not an actor. Now they did get paid a little bit, but they don't get paid a lot. And
I wonder. I've always wondered how this works, because obviously, the people that are being duped, for lack of a better term, have to sign over their rights to be on film. How are they able to do that and keep up the illusion that what they're signing over for is a spoof film, not an actual documentary being shot by a film crew from Kazakhstan?
I don't think they have to. And I think that's what people thought it was a documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all they have to do is say, you're being shot for a film, and, here's your consent. I've been in, I guess, 4 documentaries at this point, and you have to sign off for it. And I never read the paper that they hand me. Maybe I should.
Yeah, because
you'll show up in Borat 3.
Because here you have Giuliani, who is an attorney, and you wonder if at some point, and I don't know if Sacha Baron Cohen has any more of these in him still, but he's always done something of this ilk, whether it's this or the Ali G or Bruno. There's always been this candid camera, for lack of a better term, style of his comedy. But you do wonder if at some point somebody's going to try to, sue him for misappropriate or misrepresenting who he really is.
I'm pretty sure it has happened, actually.
Well, the guys in the first one, the college kids on the bus,
yes,
they sued him. They were pissed. And in this one, I would be kind of surprised if there's like going to be a ton of anger just from like the random people that were involved in this movie. This one, in a way, Kent, as I kind of think about it, it seems less harsh on, like, for lack of a better term, normal people, and much more harsh on like the institutions.
Absolutely. The only lawsuit that came out of this one that I know of is by that elderly Jewish woman.
Really? Oh, in the synagogue? Yeah.
And she subsequently, before the suit could go anywhere, she has died. And if you look at the film he dedicates the movie to her.
She was a sweetheart.
Yes, she was.
When he walked into there, I could not believe.
And that suit actually got dropped because he broke character and said, "Look, this is what it was for. This is where it fits in. And, you know, I was certainly not intending to defame you or use you in any way. They dropped the suit and the lady dies, and he dedicated the movie to her. The other thing that happened, the babysitter, I'm trying not to give everything away here, felt taken advantage of because she did think she was doing a documentary.
Yeah.
And she made, you know, it became public, and she's like, yeah, I knew I was doing a documentary. I didn't know I was doing this. And I wish I'd have got paid more money. And Sacha Baron Cohen sent her $100,000. So I guess that would probably take care of me.
Well, and of all the duped people, again, for lack of a better term, she kind of presents the moral center of the movie.
I would agree.
Absolutely.
In many ways, because she's the one that kind of convinces Borat's daughter of, you know, certain things, that the things that she's been brought up to believe are wildly wrong. And so this woman actually comes off looking very good in the film. But I'm glad to hear that, you know, she got at least remunerated for, you know, a little bit more for her efforts, because her role was very much as a moralist than anyone else in the film.
Yes, I agree. And so I think, as Josh said, I think it's way less vicious towards the average people, so to speak, that are in it. Like the guy that runs the shop with the fax, you know, he doesn't, you know, you could have really ripped him apart, and instead you know, he just kind of goes along with that. I thought that stuff was hilarious.
That was a really good bit. What did you think, Ken, of it as like a movie? Because it's interesting. Like, I laughed out loud as we're talking about it. I laughed out loud at a ton of the stuff, but in a way, it being more of like a movie, it kind of took away some of the charm, I guess, of the first one, where it was literally just like bit. And so I liked it, but I didn't maybe love it as much as I expected to. What did you think of it as an actual movie?
Oh, I thought it was pretty good. You know, I think it was. I deliberately don't read about things before they happen. So the only thing that I actually knew about this was that Giuliani was in it, right? But I didn't realize it had all the political content. And in the first 3 minutes, or, you know, as soon as it becomes clear, as soon as he's put on his mission, I went, this is going to be good. and I enjoyed it. You know, is a great movie? No, but it is a good movie. Yes. And does it makes some points, you know, that are by the end almost sentimental, right?
Yeah. I thought so too.
And so I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was, and in that sense, you can't really, for me, the comparison is so much different, because that one is kind of a skit joined together, and this is kind of a narrative movie more. And so I don't really directly compare them as much, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's also, at least among that I can think of off the top of my head, one of the first major releases to incorporate what we're going through currently.
Absolutely.
Acknowledgement of the virus and
one.
Yeah. So it's kind of the first of, you know, what will be future movies where, you know, we're living in a different time now versus what we were before. So,
and how did they manage to get that movie made this year?
I don't know.
You know, the whole thing, you just kind of go, wow. You know, the other thing, and this has zero to do with this movie, but Sacha Baron Cohen was going to make the Freddie Mercury biopic, right? And got bounced by the Queen guys because he was going to make the real story, right? It would have been R-rated. It would have been way more, you know, here's what really happened kind of picture. And you see him do this and you wonder, you know, imagine what it would have been had he done that Freddie Mercury picture instead of the Bohemian Rhapsody thing that we got. And I guess I've sort of regretted that he hadn't done it before, but then after watching this, it just reminded me of how good he really is.
Might he still approach that down the road?
Probably not. My suspicion is he's pretty relentlessly creative. So don't be surprised if he doesn't come up with another kind of character to follow Ali G and Borat and what was the other guy?
Bruno.
Yeah,
I was going to say Baron, and I knew that wasn't right.
And Ken, I know I asked you about Trial of the Chicago 7. I think it was last week, but I thought that his performance in that was like, wow. Like I knew he was an actor, but he was incredible in that movie.
Now imagine him being serious and playing Freddie Mercury.
Sure.
Yeah.
There
it is. It's Borat's subsequent movie film. Real quick, just an offside note. I noticed today on Twitter that Chappelle's Show is coming to Netflix.
Absolutely. I saw the same thing.
Yeah, it'll be on Sunday is when the episodes will drop. So if you've been missing Chappelle's Show from that very memorable season, they will be on Netflix on the 1st. And I watched this last night. Dave Chappelle interviewed with David Letterman.
I need to watch that. Yeah.
On Letterman's series on Netflix, and it's really good too.
Awesome.
So Chappelle doesn't do a lot of, personal interviews, but he does one here with Letterman, and it's very good. It's about an hour long, and it's also streaming on Netflix.
Awesome.
Believe me, I can tell you that Dave Chappelle doesn't do a lot of interviews because when he was here for a week, I groveled in every fashion that you can possibly grovel and got nothing.
This
I have a recommendation of a movie that's at least playing in the theaters in Lincoln.
Okay.
Stibbs, this one right up your alley.
Oh, God.
Maybe the most disturbing movie I've seen this year. It's called Possessor Uncut. And the reason it's called Uncut is had they sent it for ratings,
you
would have got the death knell NC-17.
Yeah.
Okay. It's from Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of David Cronenberg. And the basic plot line is there is a woman who they use her to tap into the mind of somebody else, right? Of another person. They kidnap the person and, affix something in them. And then she turns that person into essentially a contract killer. And it is twisted, disturbing, gory, and you just go,
I figured Stibbs would like this. See, when Kent was going down the road of the most disturbing thing this year, I thought it was the NFL Films Dallas Cowboys highlight video.
Oh, that is a horror show. It's a series though, right? You don't have to watch it.
It's still going.
It's a weekly series.
Josh, thoughts?
Nothing. No thoughts from me.
Okay.
None.
Who's picking?
And
look,
we got Halloween from Tashi.
I believe it's Happy Halloween. I believe it's my turn, and I've just learned of this film. I think I'm going to go with Professor Uncut. I'm kidding. That was a joke. That's the movie that Kent just mentioned.
I think you could probably actually pay for that online, but we can wait until it comes on the streaming in a few weeks.
I am very.
Just make sure I'm on vacation.
I'm very upset because the movie that I wanted to pick that we discussed a couple weeks ago, where I found it was free on Tubi or whatever. The link we were going to send out the link and you could watch it. It says the content is currently unavailable on that link.
Sad.
So that will not be my pick. So I found one on Netflix that I've seen it, but I'm very excited for you guys to see it. It's called Safety Not Guaranteed. It's from 2012. It's on Netflix. Has Aubrey Plaza in it. Mark Duplass, one of the guys from him and his brother do a bunch of directing, but he's also in The League that was on FX about fantasy football. It's pretty good. I'm excited for you guys. Have you ever seen it, Kent? Do you remember? Do you recall?
Good.
Yeah.
It's good. And the Duplasses are really
They're awesome.
They're awesome. They're really interesting guys, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dang it, it's only an hour and 25 minutes, so that'll be
No
nice.
wonder Kent liked it.
All right, Kent. Well, unfortunately, there's no game to pick this week. So
That's true.
guess we'll wait for next week.
Yep, because they wouldn't let them play the Mighty Moccasins.
You know what? Evil Kent's prediction may have hit with Tennessee Chattanooga.
It was pretty.
May have hit.
It was pretty close to Ohio State, just the wrong team. Doesn't he say 52-38?
52-38, something like that, probably Nebraska.
So, kind of.
Close.
One of these days. All right, Kent. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. See you next week.
Later,
There
Kent.
he is. Kent Wolgamon of the Lincoln Journal-Star. We'll come back and we're getting wow. We are really close to One Beer Friday.
Woo! And we're doing a beer today from a new brewery in Omaha. I know the right people, and you're not doing it, John, because you're not in Omaha. Sorry,
I'm not.
Sad.
Should we just stay up because we were planning on being up on the video anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we send a new link?
I'm
out
fine.
later?
We can do whatever. I don't care.
Stibbs.
I think that's okay. We're doing a live remote, so I'm going through my head whether to figure out if it's going to mess with anything, but I don't think it will. So yeah, I think we're good.
Well, maybe we'll stay on the link and maybe we won't. And well, anyway.
We'll be on the
Listen,
radio no matter where we're talking and video, and we're on the radio.
We're always on the radio. Amplitude modulation, 1620 The Zone.